Have you ever asked yourself why you keep giving your heart, your time, and your energy to people who only seem to take and never give back? Why do we stay in relationships or friendships that drain us, even when deep down we know they are toxic? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and this video may change the way you approach every relationship in your life. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and stay until the very end, because what you'll discover today isn't just information, it's transformation. It's the kind of perspective shift that can save you years of pain and help you build healthier love, stronger friendships, and a calmer mind. Let's start with a story, the story of silent damage. There was once a man named Daniel. He was successful at work, kind to his friends, and deeply loyal in his relationships. But Daniel had one weakness. He couldn't walk away from people who hurt him. He had a friend who constantly mocked his dreams, calling them unrealistic. Another friend only reached out when she needed money or favors. And in his romantic relationship, his partner often manipulated him with guilt, saying things like, "If you really loved me, you'd do this for me." Daniel ignored the small red flags because he thought loyalty meant never giving up on people. He thought, if I just love them enough, they'll change. But years later, he realized that his self-worth had eroded. He doubted himself. He was anxious, constantly walking on eggshells. And worst of all, he had lost the joy he once carried so naturally. Does Daniel's story sound familiar? Maybe you've been Daniel. Maybe you're still Daniel. The truth is, toxic people don't just waste your time. They slowly eat away at your identity, your confidence, and your peace of mind. But here's the good news. There is a way out. And today we're going to walk through a comprehensive guide, step by step, that will help you stop hurting yourself with toxic people. Step 1. Recognize the patterns. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever been in love with someone who made you feel like you were never enough? Maybe it was that first crush who left you doubting yourself. Or maybe it's the person you're with right now, the one who sometimes makes you feel small instead of cherished. Think about it. You're sitting across from them, sharing your heart, your dreams, maybe even talking about your future together. And instead of encouragement, you get sarcasm. Instead of support, you get silence. And when you walk away from the conversation, you feel drained. Not loved, not seen, just empty. Why does this happen? Because toxic people are masters of patterns that disguise themselves as love but leave you wounded. And here's the thing, unless you learn to recognize these patterns, you'll keep mistaking pain for passion and control for care. Let me share a story. There was once a woman named Sarah. She thought she had found her forever love. In the beginning, it was magical. He texted her every morning, brought flowers for no reason, made her laugh until her cheeks hurt. She told her friends, "This is it. This is the love I always dreamed of." But slowly things changed. He started making little comments. "You're lucky I put up with you." Or, "You'd be nothing without me." At first, she laughed them off, thinking, "He's just joking." But then he started controlling who she talked to, criticizing her clothes, twisting arguments until she felt guilty, even when she hadn't done anything wrong. Sarah told herself, this is just how love works. Every couple fights, but here's the truth. Love isn't supposed to leave you broken. And one day, sitting alone in her room after another argument, she realized something. Every time she gave, he took. Every time she opened her heart, he closed the door. And every time she looked into the mirror, she recognized less and less of herself. That's when it hit her. This wasn't love. This was a toxic pattern. And maybe, just maybe, you've been there too. Maybe you're there right now. Let me tell you the signs so you can see them before it's too late. Toxic people make you feel guilty for your needs. They take more than they give. They play the victim, twist your words, and make you question your memory of events. And the scariest part? They do it so subtly that you don't even realize the damage until you're already broken inside. But here's where your power lies. Once you recognize these patterns, you can no longer be fooled by them. It's like learning the lyrics to a song. You start to hear it everywhere, and you can't ignore it anymore. So ask yourself this. When you think about the person you love, do you feel lighter? Or do you feel heavy? Do you smile remembering them? Or do you feel anxious wondering what mood they'll be in today? Your heart already knows the answer. And recognizing that truth is the first step toward freedom. Step 2. Accept the hard truth. Here's a question you might not want to answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you convinced yourself they were the one, even when every part of you knew they were slowly breaking you? It's one of the hardest truths we ever face. The person we care about the most might actually be the one hurting us the most. Think about your first big love, or maybe the person you're with right now. Do you remember how it felt at the beginning? The butterflies in your stomach, the late night talks, the feeling that finally someone sees you. You held on to that feeling so tightly because it felt like magic. But then came the little cracks. They started ignoring your feelings. They made you feel guilty for expressing your needs. They compared you to others, and instead of lifting you higher, they pulled you down. Yet you stayed. Why? Because the memory of the good days blinded you to the truth of today. Let me share the story of Adam. Adam was in a relationship where love felt like a roller coaster. One day his partner showered him with affection. The next she ignored him, leaving his messages unread, punishing him with silence. When Adam tried to talk about it, she would laugh and say, "You're too sensitive. Stop overthinking." Deep down, Adam knew this wasn't healthy. But every time he thought about leaving, he remembered the sweet notes she used to leave on his desk, the way she once held his hand in public, the nights they spent dreaming about the future. He thought, maybe if I just love her harder, things will go back to the way they were. But here's the hard truth. Sometimes people show you exactly who they are, and our biggest mistake is pretending we didn't see it. And maybe you're doing the same. Maybe you're clinging to the I version of that person from the beginning, the one who made your heart race. But the truth? That version doesn't exist anymore, or maybe it never really did. Acceptance is painful. It feels like tearing your heart in two, but it's also the doorway to freedom. Because once you accept that this person is toxic, you stop living in the fantasy of who you wish they were and start seeing them for who they really are. And here's the thing. Acceptance doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you love yourself enough to admit reality. It means you stop making excuses for their behavior. It means you stop hoping for change that will never come. So ask yourself this, are you holding on to a memory or to a person? Because sometimes the memory of love is stronger than the love itself. The hard truth is simple. If someone is constantly draining you, controlling you, or disrespecting you, no amount of love can make them change. And the sooner you accept that truth, the sooner you can begin to heal. Step 3. Build boundaries like armor. Let me ask you something. Have you ever given so much to someone you loved that you forgot where you ended and they began? You did everything to keep them happy. Sacrificed your sleep, your peace, maybe even your dreams, because you thought that's what love is supposed to look like. But here's the painful truth. Without boundaries, love doesn't grow. It suffocates. Let me take you into Emma's story. Emma was deeply in love with her boyfriend, Mark. She thought boundaries would push him away, so she never said no. When he asked to borrow money, she gave it, even when she needed it herself. When he canceled plans last minute, she told herself it was fine, even though she cried in her room. And when he mocked her passion for painting, she laughed it off, even though it broke her heart. Every time she ignored her own feelings, she built a cage around herself, not around him. She thought she was protecting the relationship, but in reality, she was slowly losing herself. One night, Emma stayed up late thinking about their relationship. She asked herself, if he truly loves me, why do I feel so empty? Why do I feel like I'm giving everything and getting nothing in return? That's when it hit her. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's surrender. And that's where so many of us go wrong. We think saying no means we're selfish. We think drawing a line means we don't care enough. But listen carefully, boundaries are not walls to shut people out. Boundaries are doors that decide who is allowed to step into your heart and how they treat you when they do. Ask yourself, what happens when you let someone walk all over you? They stop seeing your kindness as a gift and start seeing it as their right. And once that happens, the respect in the relationship dies. Building boundaries is like putting on armor, not to fight love, but to protect it. Because real love thrives when two people respect each other's space, values, and individuality. So what does that look like in real life? It means telling your partner, I need time for myself tonight. And that doesn't mean I love you any less. It means saying to a friend, I can't always be the one fixing your problems. I need balance. It means calmly standing your ground when someone tries to guilt trip you into doing something you don't want to do. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will resist. They might call you selfish, they might get angry, but that reaction reveals everything you need to know, because the right people will respect your boundaries and the wrong ones will fight them. Emma eventually started setting small boundaries. She said no when she didn't have money to spare. She stopped apologizing for her art, and slowly, she realized something powerful. The people who truly loved her didn't leave. They grew closer, the ones who couldn't handle it. They faded away. Boundaries didn't destroy Emma's relationships. They revealed which ones were real. And maybe that's exactly what you need too. Step 4. Stop playing the savior. Let me ask you something from the heart. Have you ever tried to fix someone you loved? You saw their pain, their struggles, their flaws, and instead of walking away, you thought, maybe I can heal them. Maybe my love will be enough to save them. It feels noble, doesn't it? You want to believe love is strong enough to change people. But here's the painful truth. You cannot save someone who doesn't want to save themselves. Let's step into a story. Maya fell in love with a man named Alex. From the beginning, she knew he carried scars. He had anger issues, trust issues, and a past full of broken promises. But Maya thought she was different. She told herself, if I just love him enough, he'll soften. If I'm patient, he'll change. And for a while, it looked like she was right. He had good days where he held her hand, told her she was his light, his safe place. But then came the bad days, the yelling, the cold silence, the manipulation. Maya would cry and Alex would say, I'm just like this because of my past. You know I need you. Those words cut deep, because Maya didn't just love him, she felt responsible for him. She thought walking away would mean abandoning him, so she stayed. She gave him her time, her forgiveness, her second chances over and over again. But the truth? Nothing changed. And isn't that what happens when we play the savior? We keep pouring water into a bucket full of holes, hoping that somehow this time it will stay, but it never does. Now pause for a moment and think about your own love story. Has there ever been someone in your life who kept taking but never really gave back? Someone you defended to your friends, saying, they're not bad, they're just hurting. Someone you excused even when deep down you knew you deserved better? That's what happens when love turns into rescue. It stops being love and becomes sacrifice, and sacrifice without balance turns into self-destruction. Here's the truth that Maya finally realized, and maybe it's the truth you need too. You are not someone's therapist, their crutch, or their savior. You are their partner, their equal, their companion. If they want to heal, they must choose that path themselves. Your love can support them, but it cannot carry them. And here's the heartbreaking twist. When Maya finally stopped trying to fix Alex, she saw clearly what she had ignored for years. He wasn't interested in changing. He was comfortable being the victim. And that day, she decided to save herself instead. Because that's the choice you eventually face. Do you keep losing yourself trying to save someone else? Or do you finally choose yourself? Remember this, real love doesn't require you to rescue. Real love requires two whole people choosing to grow together. So stop playing the savior, because the person who actually needs saving is you. Step 5, rebuild your self-worth. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and truly loved the person staring back at you? Not just your appearance, but your worth, your heart, your value. Because here's what toxic people do best. They chip away at that worth until you start doubting yourself. And maybe without even realizing it, you've been carrying their voice inside your head. Let me share a story. There was a man named Daniel. In the beginning, his girlfriend Lily adored him. She told him he was amazing, that she was lucky to have him. But over time, her words shifted. Instead of admiration came criticism. She'd say things like, "You're not ambitious enough. You're too emotional. No one else would ever put up with you." Daniel brushed it off at first. But slowly, those words sank in. He stopped applying for promotions at work because he believed he wasn't capable. He stopped sharing his feelings because he thought they were too much. He even stopped spending time with friends, thinking, maybe I really am lucky she even loves me. And isn't that how it happens? You don't lose your self-worth all at once. It slips away piece by piece, hidden in the shadows of someone else's criticism. Now pause and think about your own life. Has someone ever made you feel like you weren't enough? Maybe it was a partner who made you doubt your beauty, a friend who belittled your dreams, or even a family member who constantly compared you to others. And maybe, just maybe, you started believing them. But here's the truth. Your worth isn't defined by how others treat you. Your worth existed before them, and it will exist long after them. The journey of rebuilding. Self-worth begins with remembering who you are without their voice in your ear. Think back to the moments when you felt proud. Maybe graduating, landing that first job, creating something with your own two hands, or even the little victories no one saw but you. That was you. That was your strength, your beauty, your value, long before anyone tried to tell you otherwise. One of the most powerful things you can do is replace their voice with your own. When that old thought creeps in, I'm not good enough, you answer it with, I am worthy of respect. I am worthy of love. I am enough. And surround yourself with reminders. Write down affirmations. Spend time with people who lift you instead of break you. Read books, listen to mentors, and engage with voices that remind you of your value. Because self-worth isn't rebuilt in silence, it's rebuilt through intentional love for yourself. Daniel eventually did this. He walked away from Lily and started focusing on his own growth. He picked up hobbies he loved, reconnected with supportive friends, and slowly, he began to see his reflection differently. One day, he looked in the mirror and realized he wasn't the broken man she told him he was. He was whole, he was strong, and he was enough. And you are too. Never forget this: when you rebuild your self-worth, toxic people lose their power over you, because a person who knows their value cannot be manipulated into believing they're worthless. Step 6. Stop believing you can fix them. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in love with someone who was broken inside? Maybe they carried scars from their past, deep wounds that they never showed anyone but you. And you thought, if I love them enough, if I stay patient enough, maybe I can fix them. It feels noble, doesn't it? Almost romantic. The idea that your love can heal all wounds. But here's the painful truth. When you take on the role of a healer in someone's life, you slowly stop being their partner. You become their crutch. Think about it. Maybe you were the one who stayed up all night, calming their storms while your own heart was drowning. Maybe you sacrificed your happiness, your dreams, your peace, just to keep them afloat. And every time they promised they would change, you held on. Not because of what they showed you, but because of the hope you carried in your heart. But tell me honestly, how many times did that hope turn into disappointment? How many times did you cry yourself to sleep, wishing they would finally see how much you were giving? The truth is, you can't fix someone who doesn't want to fix themselves. You can't save someone who chooses to stay broken. And the more you try, the more you hurt yourself. Now pause here for a second and think about your own love life. Have you ever felt like you were pouring yourself into a black hole, giving love, care, energy, only to feel emptier every day? That's what happens when you try to heal someone at the cost of destroying yourself. You see, real love is not about fixing, it's about growing. A healthy partner doesn't expect you to carry their entire pain. They walk beside you. They work on themselves while loving you. But toxic people, they keep taking. Because deep down they know you'll never stop giving. And here's the hardest part. When you finally walk away, you realize something powerful. The one who truly needed fixing wasn't them. It was you. You needed to fix your belief that your worth depends on how much you can save someone else. So if you're listening to this right now, maybe this is your wake-up call. Stop playing the role of a savior. Stop burning yourself to keep someone else warm. You deserve a love that doesn't need fixing. You deserve a love that feels like home. Now let me ask you, do you want to spend the rest of your life being a repairman in someone else's story? Or do you want to finally be the main character of your own love story? The choice is yours. Step 7. Fill the space with healthy connections. When you finally let go of toxic people, something strange happens. You suddenly feel an emptiness, a silence, a void in your heart and in your daily life. It's like walking out of a crowded, noisy room and finding yourself in a quiet street. At first, that silence feels unbearable. You start missing even the chaos because at least it was familiar. But here's the truth most people never talk about. The emptiness left behind by toxic people isn't a curse, it's an opportunity. It's a blank canvas waiting for you to paint it with new, healthy colors. Let me tell you a story you might relate to. Think back to that time when you finally walked away from someone who hurt you. Maybe an ex or a friend who drained you. Remember how lonely it felt? You woke up and your phone wasn't buzzing anymore. No good morning texts, no drama-filled calls, just silence. And in that silence, you started doubting yourself. Did I make a mistake? Was it really that bad? But then slowly something started changing. Maybe you reconnected with an old friend who always made you laugh. Or maybe you spent more time with family, the kind of people who love you without conditions. That first dinner with them felt lighter, warmer, didn't it? Like your heart was finally allowed to breathe again. That's what happens when you replace toxic connections with healthy ones. You start to remember what genuine love feels like. Love that doesn't demand you to sacrifice your happiness. Love that doesn't guilt you into staying. Love that feels easy, supportive, natural. Here's a question for you. When was the last time you had a conversation that left you feeling stronger instead of weaker? When was the last time you were around someone who made you feel seen, valued, and respected? That's the kind of energy you need to invite into your life. Because if you don't, the danger is this. You'll go back to toxic people just to fill the void. That's how many people relapse into toxic relationships. They mistake loneliness for love. But loneliness isn't love, it's just your heart reminding you to seek better connections. So instead of running back, choose to step forward. Build new friendships. Join communities that inspire you. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your wins and hold you when you fall. Every healthy connection you make becomes like sunlight entering the dark room your heart was trapped in. Here's the beauty of it. You don't just heal by leaving toxic people. You heal by filling that space with love that actually nourishes you. And the more you do, the less you'll ever crave the poison you once thought was love. So let me ask you this. What's stopping you from filling your life with healthier, happier connections today? Step 8, forgive but don't forget. Have you ever held onto a memory so painful that it felt like it was carved into your soul? Maybe it was the betrayal of someone you loved. Maybe it was a friend who stabbed you in the back, or a partner who broke your trust. And even now when you think about it, your chest tightens, doesn't it? Here's the thing, we often hear people say, just forgive and forget. But let's be honest, forgetting is impossible. Your mind doesn't work like an eraser. You can't just delete those nights when you cried yourself to sleep, or those mornings when you questioned your worth. The pain was real. The scars are still there. But forgiveness, that's different. Forgiveness isn't about pretending it never happened. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from carrying that heavy stone in your chest. Because holding on to anger, holding on to resentment, is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Let me take you into a memory. Imagine you're standing at a train station holding a suitcase. Inside the suitcase is every insult, every betrayal, every heartbreak you've ever experienced. You've been dragging it around for years, haven't you? And it's heavy, so heavy that it's slowing you down in life. Forgiveness is when you finally put that suitcase down. But forgetting? No. You still remember what it felt like to carry it. You remember so you'll never pick it up again. And this is where people make a mistake. They think forgiving means letting the toxic person back into your life. No. Forgiving doesn't mean you allow them to hurt you again. Forgiving means you release the anger in your heart, but you keep the lesson in your mind. Think about your own love life. Maybe you forgave someone who cheated on you or who lied to you. That forgiveness allowed you to move on, to stop hurting every time their name came up. But the memory taught you something, didn't it? It taught you to recognize the red flags sooner. It taught you that your heart deserves better. That's why forgetting is dangerous. It erases the lesson that protects you. Here's the beauty in this balance. Forgiveness sets you free, not them. You don't forgive to make them feel better. You forgive so you can breathe again. But you don't forget. Because forgetting would mean stepping back into the same trap that once broke you. So let me ask you, who in your life are you still carrying in that suitcase of pain? And are you ready to finally put it down? Not to erase it, not to pretend it never happened, but to walk lighter, stronger and wiser into your future. Because in the end, forgiveness is the gift you give yourself. But memory, that's the shield that keeps you safe. Step 9, redefine love and loyalty. Let me ask you something. When you first fell in love, what did loyalty mean to you? Was it the late-night texts? The promises whispered in the dark? The way they said, "I'll never leave you"? Back then, love and loyalty felt simple, didn't it? It was about holding hands and believing in forever. But life teaches us the hard way that not everyone shares the same definition. Some people call it loyalty. When you stay by their side no matter how badly they treat you. Some call it love when they only show affection on their terms, when it's convenient for them. And if you've ever been in a toxic relationship, you know how confusing that feels. Think about it. How many times did you stay with someone who hurt you, just because you thought leaving would make you disloyal? How many times did you silence your pain, because you believed love meant sacrifice at all costs? But here's the truth, loyalty doesn't mean losing yourself. Real loyalty isn't about suffering in silence. It's about showing up for each other with honesty, respect, and care. And love isn't supposed to feel like a battlefield where you're always the one bleeding. Love is supposed to feel like home, a place where you are safe, where your soul can rest. Let me take you into a story. Imagine a woman who loves a man so deeply that she excuses every red flag. He lies, she forgives. He disrespects, she stays. She tells herself, this is loyalty. This is what real love looks like. But years later, when she finally looks into the mirror, she doesn't recognize herself. She realizes she wasn't loyal to love, she was loyal to pain. Now imagine something different. Imagine someone who has been through that heartbreak, but this time they choose differently. Instead of staying loyal to someone who breaks them, they stay loyal to their own heart. They define love not as endless sacrifice, but as mutual respect. They define loyalty not as tolerating abuse, but as building trust that never requires excuses. And here's the shift you need to make too. Stop defining love by how much you can endure. Start defining it by how much it helps you grow. Stop defining loyalty as blind devotion, and start defining it as mutual protection of each other's peace. Because when you redefine love and loyalty, you stop being the prisoner of toxic people. You stop calling chains devotion. And you finally understand that real love never asks you to break yourself, just to prove your worth. So let me ask you, what's your definition of love today? Is it the pain you've been tolerating, or is it the peace you know you deserve? Because once you redefine it, you'll never settle for anything less again. Step 10, choose yourself without apology. Tell me, how many times in your life have you put yourself last just to keep someone else happy? Maybe it was staying in a relationship long after your heart was breaking, just because you didn't want to be seen as selfish. Maybe it was silencing your dreams, your needs, your feelings, because you thought love meant always choosing them over you. But here's a truth that might sting. Every time you abandoned yourself for someone else, you told your heart that it didn't matter. And over time, that's exactly how you began to feel, like you didn't matter. Think back for a moment. Do you remember that time when you wanted to speak up, but swallowed your words instead? That time when you wanted to walk away, but stayed because you were afraid of being judged? That time when you cried alone in the dark, convincing yourself that choosing yourself was wrong? Those weren't just moments of sacrifice. They were moments when you apologized for being you. But let me ask you something. Why should you apologize for wanting peace? Why should you apologize for wanting love that doesn't break you? Why should you apologize for saving yourself from drowning? When the person you're with refuses to swim, choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. And more than that, it's self-respect. Imagine this, you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks drop down. What do they always tell you? Put your own mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out trying to save someone else, neither of you makes it. That's exactly how life works. If you keep abandoning yourself for toxic people, you'll lose both them and yourself. But if you choose yourself, you can still love, still give, still care, but from a place of strength, not from emptiness. Here's the mindset shift. Stop apologizing for your boundaries. Stop apologizing for walking away from people who don't treat you right. Stop apologizing for saying, I matter too. Because the moment you stop apologizing, you start living. Think about your love life again. Wouldn't it feel incredible to be with someone who loves the version of you that chooses yourself every single day? Someone who doesn't guilt you for having boundaries, but respects you for them? That's the kind of love you'll attract when you finally stop betraying yourself. So let me ask you, are you ready to choose yourself unapologetically? To say, I deserve peace, I deserve happiness, I deserve love that feels like home and without guilt, without fear, without explanation? Because once you do, you'll realize something life-changing. The love you've been searching for all along begins with you. You've just walked through a complete guide on how to stop hurting yourself with toxic people. And maybe as you listened, you saw pieces of your own love story woven into these points. Maybe you remembered the times you stayed too long, gave too much, or forgave without boundaries. But here's the most important truth. Your past doesn't define you. Your choices today do. Every step you take toward protecting your peace, redefining love, forgiving without forgetting, and choosing yourself unapologetically, is a step toward a life that finally feels like yours. So let me ask you one final question. Are you ready to stop bleeding? For people who wouldn't even give you a bandage, are you ready to stop calling pain love and finally embrace the happiness you deserve? Because the moment you do, everything changes: your heart, your relationships, your future. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.